morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Live with Liz. Today we are talking about law firm apps. Are they really a thing? Actually, I'm still not convinced they're really a thing, but when I was looking up information about this topic, what I was finding more prevalently than anything else was I was finding the apps that lawyers use, not apps that I was envisioning, such as the ones that would be public facing or client facing that would serve a legal marketing purpose or business development purpose um, for your clients. And so I was thinking, gosh, maybe it's not a thing. Maybe it's just not something that law firms do. Developing mobile apps, though, has become something more popular in the legal industry for law firms and by law firms over the last decade or so. And there is a reason to potentially invest in developing a mobile app for your clients and for your own functionality. So you can tell I don't really spend a lot of time preparing for these things. So I did some research for this one. Great to have a few resources out there. Anyway, I find that the apps that are out there for law firms are set up in different ways for different purposes, and that there is a delineation between the apps that are created by B2B firms versus those created by B2C firms. And the apps that I'm talking about, usually when a law firm develops an app, I'm not talking about something for internal functionality or for the purposes of your lawyers to use or something administrative for your team. I'm specifically talking about apps that are available in mobile app stores. Hey, good morning, Leah. And the ones that the public could download that are available for just any, Joe Schmo / Mr. Potential Client, Mrs. Potential Client, whoever it is, to actually communicate with you or to have some sort of functionality. These apps are set up to offer something to the clients, but also perhaps just to the public. I actually came across a lot of different types of apps that served purposes for advertising and marketing of a law firm, but also for client access, also for communications. And there were just really a variety of different ways that apps were being used by law firms that were surprising to me and that I think could be beneficial for you if you are running a law firm, just to at least even consider. I found some of the earlier apps were pretty impressive for coming out really in the earlier 2000s and 2010s that I was surprised to see were a bit more sophisticated than I was expecting and maybe even more functional. For some of the law firms out there that are thinking this is crazy, the investment is out of reach, maybe it's not. There might be solutions for you too. It's not necessarily something that only the wealthiest of firms can access at this point because there are newer solutions out there. One of the things that I was thinking about in terms of functionality versus advertising and marketing, some of the research I came across indicated that these applications that are used solely for the purposes of advertising without any functionality attached to them are not as successful. They don't have the download rates, they don't have the use stats behind them to make it so that they're actually efficient and functional for you as even an advertising or marketing investment. Is it worth that return? And I would say if you don't have functionality attached to it and you're purely going out there and trying to get people to download something to just market your services, that's not going to fly, at least not today. That you have to have some sort of functional component to your app to make it worthwhile. Now, there are a lot of things that these apps can offer in terms of connectivity with their lawyers. Maybe document control or document management is a possibility. Billing is one of the big features that some of the apps that law firms are creating offers. The ability for clients to pay directly through an app out of convenience. That's something that is appealing for a lot of different law firms. And really, just even messaging and consultation directly through an app or making resources from your law firm available to your clients and your potential clients and even the public can be something that, even though you're providing it's almost like content-based advertising at that point, but you have added value, you've added functionality when you're providing even a resource bank, something as simple as that, to the public or to your target audience, including your potential clients who may eventually become your clients. So I did see a lot of apps that were geared specifically for the B2C market. And that I'm talking about your family law, divorce law, maybe even criminal defense or real estate or estate planning. Those applications developed by law firms that have really constant connection with individuals who are directly hiring them and engaging them for their services. It's a bit different when you're looking at app functionality for a company. A B2B law firm does have a difference. Now, those other firms that are B2C, I did find several platforms out there that are available for white label. And I thought, this could be something accessibly priced and something that could be effective for a law firm to easily deploy a marketing or even a mobile app, just any mobile app. So what do I mean by that white label? I mean is instead of having to pay developers to create an app just for you, you don't have to recreate the wheel, especially when it comes to some of those more standardized functionalities that might be helpful for you. So if you want to use it for messaging, for consulting, for calendaring, for any type of scheduling, even having some sort of form of document control or even electronic signature functionality through it and those billing features, you could do it with an already existing app and just customize it to your law firm. Add your branding to it, then you don't have to pay for those developers to come up with something on your own. I even found that some of those apps and those white label offers actually connect with some pretty common practice management solutions that are already being used by a lot of these firms out there. Now, on the B2B side, it's a little bit different. And in the IP world, I'm thinking, what do these look like? I haven't actually downloaded some of these apps for law firms, but now that I've done this research, I probably will go and start looking at some of these apps a little more closely. But I have seen that, especially when it comes to kind of the AM Law 100, 200, the top law firms in the US, and some top global law firms, I have seen some interesting applications that were launched over the last decade or so that have this offering for the B2B client, your corporate client. If you want to access client portals, this is something that I've seen quite a bit, is having people be able to access clients, to access their lawyers and access their files and be able to go right through an app, even on the B2B side. And for intellectual property, that's interesting, but also to be able to order surfaces. So say I'm a corporate trademark practitioner and I really don't want to have to deal with, and maybe this is also a desktop application, but sending emails back and forth and can you do a search? Can you do this? Instead, I just go right into my app and say, here are the names I need searched today. Thank you. And just have it taken care of. That sounds brilliant. Or I want to go check on the status of my entire portfolio and I don't want to wait for a status report. Great. Instead of having to email back and forth with counsel, let me just log into my app and see where it is. That sounds great. A lot of the law firms say that they offer all of these different benefits and advantages for working with them. So you say they're unique, but everybody says, oh, we offer convenience, we'll save you time, we'll improve, your productivity, your legal services will be cost effective because we're so great at what we do. But not a lot of law firms go out there and say, this is how we save you time. This is how we're more convenient. And now you see this with these apps. Some of them are saying, well, we offer you a mobile app and you can just log right in and take care of all of these things while you're sitting on the john. And, you don't have to worry about a thing. You don't actually have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. You can just get it done 24/7, no problem. That's wow. How convenient is that? It's kind of hard to argue with that. Okay, we don't all necessarily need to do that all the time. Back in 2010, Morrison and Forrester created an app. And actually, I think they had a couple of them. And Locke Lord developed an app back around the same time. They had one that let their lawyers meet with their clients and potential clients right through the app, to engage with them right through the app. And that's very interesting. I don't know if you've ever thought about it or what it would look like. I have a feeling that investment is a lot different today than what it was 15 years ago. But I definitely see some applications for it, even in the B2B space. And I think that, going back to this idea, you have to have some functionality attached to it. If you can make it even incrementally functional to save people time, maybe it would be worth it to have something out there. Now, given that when I was doing this research and looking for these apps, that there weren't a ton out there and that most of the focus was more on the actual functionality of the professional lawyer rather than being on the functionality to give to clients, it says to me that just because you haven't, whether you have an app or not, may not make an actual difference into whether or not you're going to get hired or whether or not somebody would stay with your law firm. So when I say, is it a thing and do you absolutely need an app? I'm going to say, no, you don't need an app. Not today, maybe in the future. Um, if you want to get ahead of the curve and do something that does set you apart, it's a way that you could make this investment, you could leverage it with your clients, and if you make it specific to their needs and add a bit of functionality to it that other firms don't offer, then sure, you could definitely have a benefit from investing in one of these. And because it's become much more cost effective, even if you do want developers to create an app for you, I mean, it's so much more streamlined than it used to be that you could achieve this with fewer resources than what it even took some of these firms that started doing it, 15 or 20 years ago. Um, and that is something to consider when you're trying to figure out ways to set your firm apart. That level of connectivity that you can have with clients may be just something that you offer that no other firm can, or that few other firms do. Even if they can, they might not do it. And what I did see through some of the research that I did very briefly was that it didn't seem to me that a lot of downloads were happening for these apps necessarily. So, it's something to keep in mind really when you're developing it, is how it's going to be used and what the purpose of it is. Don't just create an app to create an app. Don't, don't just do it because it's something that you think you're expected to do. You have to really think through whether or not it's going to be valuable. I do find that some of the apps that provide resources to me seem to be more valuable than just any old app that's out there that just introduces you or has a video attached to it. Nobody needs to do that anymore. It's such a waste of time. Nobody's going to download that. We can just go to your video app somewhere online, to YouTube or wherever, and find it, or you can share it on social media rather than make this investment. So if you've thought of creating an app, I'd love to hear from you. And if you already have one or you have problems with it, that's something that I'm also interested to know, because I like to see where these problems are and whether or not it's worthwhile. If it's ended up costing you a bundle and you can't figure it out. Interestingly, we also work with app developers on our side. Most of the app development we've done has been, actually, let me rephrase that. All of the app development that we have done has been on the law firm functionality side. It hasn't been client facing. So until this point, I hadn't really even considered it. I guess the bottom line is it's not really that big of a thing. It is. And you don't necessarily need an app, but if you want one or you want to explore how it might work for your clients, I'd love to have that conversation with you. So please reach out to us if you have any questions about this, or if you have a story to share, we'd love to hear it. solutions@firmforward.com. Follow us on social media and join us for Live with Liz on Wednesdays, most Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Central Time, based here in Houston, and hope to see you next time on Live with Liz. Take care, everybody.